Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Wendy Yee.
I'm Chris Yee.
Today we're taking a look at Barcelona. It's a new game from Board and Dice, which might be confusing because A, it doesn't start with a T, and B, it's super colorful. Like, this is a very colorful game.
It is. That cover was very striking when I first saw it.
I still get big Euro vibes from it, though. Like, I will not confuse this.
Yeah, I don't think anyone is going to. But it's based on a theme which I really like, and that's that of rebuilding Carcassonne. Very few cities in the world are built from the ground up. Washington, D.C., a few other cities. Most of the time, they just grow.
You said Carcassonne. Were you comparing it to Carcassonne?
Did I say Carcassonne? I meant Barcelona.
Okay, I just want to make sure I didn't fully miss out on my
Barcelona,
history.
sorry. But so Washington, D.C. was built from the ground up mostly, and Barcelona, they rebuilt it apart. And that's what this is about, including the designer whose name I keep forgetting.
Danny Garcia.
That was not it.
Oh, in
Not of the
Oh, you're talking about
game.
Serta?
Yes, Serta.
Serta is his name.
Asked me to pronounce his first name. It was weird.
Well, that's the theme. Wendy's going to show you how to play it.
Barcelona is a game about modernizing Barcelona from its wartime, surrounded by walls, very difficult to expand, to actually a modern urbanization setting. Now we have Serta over here, who is the great architect behind its renovation or its modernization. And so he had all these plans. And so basically we were building this city. We're trying to do all this cool stuff over 3 ages. So there's 3 rounds, while keeping him happy. If he's happy, we get cool scoring, and if we don't keep him happy, then we get less multipliers for the scoring. Let's go ahead and get started with the player's turn. So each player will have these 2 little discs that they will have drawn from a bag. There's 3 colors, blue, green, and pink. And they can place these in any order that they want, whichever one on top. They will then place it on one of the squares of the board. That will then tell them what row or column of action they will receive based on these little things over here, these little action spaces, as well as if they want to pay a little bit extra, they can also take the column, the row, and the diagonal. After they take their actions, there are 3 possible types of buildings that they can build. We have lower class, middle class, and upper class. And if you notice, Serta really likes it when you help the lower class, and then he's less happy with the middle and the upper class. He definitely wanted to help the urbanization, to help the poorer people in the world. So you move up on the track or lower on the track, and you get some other benefits if you're able to build. Now, the way you build is that you will take the top people off of the stacks, corners to wherever you want to build. So I can build here because I can take 1 from here and 1 from here. Now, because they are basic boys, they're just lower class people, I can build this green building right here. I meet the objective, which is on the left. I gain the bonus that is on the right, and then I will flip it over and I will place my nice little disc on it right here, and that will claim and say that I built that bottom level. Now, as we pull these tokens off the board, this is actually the timer of the game. As you see, we have these 3 different rounds over here. You will always take these tiles and you place them on the lowest possible space that they can go on the board. There are some previous stuff that's already on here for a 2-player game just to speed things up. And then the player will get points based on whatever the lowest point value is showing. So right now the 4 is the lowest point value. If we cover that up, then of course the 5 would be next. Then finally, after you've taken your actions, you do your buildings, then you draw from the bag, you'll gain 2 more discs out, and then you'll be ready for the next player to take their turn. Next, let's talk about these tracks over here. This particular section is the first round, and the end of the trigger will be when a tile is crossed over this midsection right here. So when it crosses over, we then do these 2 parts of the scoring. So first, we're just going to reset all of these endgame objectives. This is something I'll show you later, but then we're going to multiply the Serta track times whatever this round bonus is here. So for example, this is however many columns on your board that you've emptied out of building pieces, and that is multiplied by 3, and then it is multiplied by whatever your multiplier is on the Serta track. So for example, this would be 3 times my 1 over here. Each one of these rounds ends the same way, and they of course will score for their own Serta multiplier. And it doesn't matter if later on one of these tracks will cross over, but instead it's always just the first one. Now, I don't want to go into too much depth about these actions. There's a whole lot of different actions that you can take, and this is not a full rules teach. However, there are some things out here that are just some cool ways that I want to point out that you can earn points. So if we look at our player board over here, we have the way that we can hold resources down here, and there is an action that allows you to take these little cobblestones. You can place them on this cobblestone board over here. It unlocks endgame points. It allows you to hold more resources, and it gives you some sort of immediate bonus right then and there. Right above it, we have streets and we have intersections. These intersections allow you to gain an income anytime someone steps on your intersection. So for example, if someone comes over here and places on my purple intersection, they get to take their normal actions, but I get to take income based on which one of these are, all of these that are revealed, and then it increases how many things I get to choose from based on what it's showing. The streets you place out, they give you sometimes immediate benefits. There are also places where you can place your passengers on to allow you to increase your trolley track up here. And then they also score based on how many streets are in a line. So for example, if I place this one right here, bum, ba, bum, I would get 1, 2, 3, 4 points because there are 4 roads on this road. Speaking of trolleys, this is our trolley track up here. These are the passengers that want to be dropped off throughout the city, so we can go ahead and pay the cost when we take the trolley action. Then place this cube wherever our trolley is. We can move it up to 2 spaces, and then moving over your own places are free as well. But they give you end game points, as well as they will activate whatever action is in the row or column that it is facing. So this is, hey, move up 2 spaces on the Serta track. Next up here, we have all of our big end game scoring. So we've got like little end game scoring here, but these are going to be our big multipliers at the end. There are ways to upgrade your multipliers so you get a higher multiplication as you look over here. Some of them have costs. Some of them get really high. So this one over here, you can have 4 times whatever you put in this spot. And you may ask, hey, what do I put in those spots? Well, that's what this little market over here that resets throughout the round. It also refills immediately when you take stuff. But you can choose to place these anywhere on your board, just placing the cost. And so there is an action space that allows you to place, and there's an action space that allows you to upgrade. You always need to have the resources, but this can be really huge endgame multipliers. Now at the top, we have this little Sagrada Familia track. As we move across this track for various ways throughout the game, we unlock these nice little Sagrada buildings, and we can choose from whatever are left. So there's tier 1, 2, 3, 4, and you just choose whatever your instant benefit is. You place it out when you cross the space on that track, and then you get that benefit immediately. Finally, there's one last cool thing that you can do, and that's these buildings over here. They do cost money. $3 is expensive because remember, you can only have 4 spaces that you can hold resources initially in the game. But these give you some immediate action benefit that's pretty sweet, like placing an intersection, placing out some roads, as well as points and Serta movement on his track. As you look at them, they will decrease in points as you get lower, but they also cost less. So these you just gain. You place next to you, they're built for the round, you do it whenever you want to, you can flip it over, use its ability, and hey, there you go. As a reminder, the game will end after these 3 eras. When you finish it off, you're going to go ahead and score the Serta track immediately, but then you'll finish the round so everyone has equal amounts of turns. Then you'll just score up all of the endgame scoring points, which is a lot of the stuff on your board. We've got these endgame multipliers right here, as well as anything unlocked and revealed on these tracks. And that's briefly how you play Barcelona.
Okay, well, you know what? I have missed Stefan Feld so long. And I say that we often use in board gaming, we use a term called points out. It was like, no matter what you do, you get points. Wow, this game is the epitome of that. To the point where it comes with this, like, it has a track, it goes around 100. They're like, and also you can go up to 400. I'm like, can you really? I think you could. You get so many points in this game. The only action you don't get points for is if you take gold or cloth. No, I'm sorry. Cloth gives you 3 points. So
it's literally just gold, right?
I think it's just gold. Well, no, some of the actions you take.
Some of them are maybe points. Like the little stones that you put up, the cobblestones. Those are maybe points.
You're right.
End game points.
Oh, but they're end game points.
Yeah, right. So like everything you do is worth points. In fact, when I looked at the cobblestone end game points, I was like, wow, it goes up to pretty high numbers.
24 or something. You're like, cool.
But not really, because you score so many points over the course of this game. It was dizzying to the point where I couldn't keep track of, like, am I doing well? I'm 50 points behind. But that might not be a bad thing. I might have 2 turns in a row where I get almost that many points.
Or you have that many more endgame points than everybody else.
Yeah, I was surprised by the number of points. But if you like that style of game, I think that this is a positive in that regard.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's like this and Tapestry and Russian Railroads, the 3 games I can think of where you're going to lap that score track multiple times. You're going to need those tokens that say, like, am I in the 200 or 300 lap now? I almost never need those tokens, and in this game you do.
You do, there's enough. Now I'm really curious, Chris, because I know with these heavier games, you don't tend to love when the different rounds have like a preset scoring condition that happens at the end of them.
You're talking to Tom.
Oh, you don't like that either?
No.
I'm thinking like Terra Nova, those kind of things.
Yeah, that was a complaint that I have where you have to do that. In this particular game, that's not a complaint I have about this game because, yes, those are a lot of points, but they're different every game, and the thing that they're asking you to do is likely something people are going to do anyway, and you can ignore it and get lots of endgame scoring if you really want to.
See, and that's what I was wondering if you're going to feel that way or not, because I like those 3 eras. I like that there's a push towards them. I tend to enjoy that mechanism more than Tom. In fact, I enjoy that quite a bit.
Okay.
Well, she
there you
doesn't know
go.
you very well.
Yeah, to be fair. No, I think it works really well in this because it also affects the push-pull of when do you want to end an era. Do you want to try and focus on making buildings with a lot of the same type of citizen in mind and just kind of rush this thing? And I think that plays into the timing of the game really well.
I really like the way that sort of track is set up. You're automatically from the base go, like you're getting a ×1. So if you're already doing it, like you said, Tom.
I hope so. I hope I get points. ×1 is like every game is ×1.
Well, it's ×1 times whatever the points are already on
It's
it
still
times what you
×1.
have.
Well, you can move down and get 0.
You
Right?
can-
Well,
that's
I
the
get
thing.
that, but I don't think it's like a bonus to start at ×1.
I think it is. A lot of these games you have to invest to be able to score it all. In this one, you've got a baseline of you're okay. You can screw that up. You can like build all this hoity-toity stuff and make Serta upset and you lower on that track. But I like that you automatically are going to score those things if you don't mess things up too much.
No, you only
I think
score them
that's
if
good.
you've done them.
Well, you have to do them, but you're probably doing them anyways, like what you said.
Sure.
So I appreciate that. I think it's done well.
This game did something that actually is in common with a game we just... it has nothing to do with this game, the video game champion. But it has that whole put out a thing and you do the row and the column.
I love that.
And this one you do both. And that's kind of interesting. And you also do the diagonal one if you're on that street. One thing about it I did find disappointing, though, and that's the intersections. Because the intersections sound cool. Like, put an intersection out, and if someone uses that, you get a bonus. Well, the rules also say if you use it, you get a bonus, and that's good.
Yeah.
Because if you put out an intersection, I will go out of my way not to use it because there are so many other spots I can go to. It's not like there's so many intersections, it's really easy to avoid when people put them out.
But I also feel like it's not giving them too much. In higher player count games, you just go where you can go because so many spots are filled.
Yeah, I get that.
So it just depends. But I liked the income because if you're going to really invest in it, then you're like, ooh, I get 2 things now and I get my choice. Oh, 3 things. So I think that they're cool. I think they're nifty. I don't think they're overpowered though, and I'm grateful that they're not.
I agree. Man, everything builds up very satisfyingly in this game when you see just physically everything coming together, intersections with roads and then buildings next to them. I really like that it kind of develops into this landscape, the cityscape, but also everything functions very well, like you said, building intersections out. Not too powerful, but once that spot clears up of mine, I might just go back to it and then make the best use I can of the 2 actions that it's on. Maybe I'll invest on those intersections on that diagonal because everybody wants 3 actions. I'm willing to pay the coin to put the intersection out there because now I made that 1 coin cost discounted for everybody else as well. They'll go to that spot, which triggers the income for me, but they get 3 actions out of it instead of 2. Everyone is kind of benefiting from that little symbiotic exchange there.
What I really like about this game is I feel like everything visually is laid out really well. Like I take an action, I know exactly what part of my board I'm looking at, exactly what I'm doing, the scoring, everything is right there. The benefits you receive, all that kind of stuff I feel like was very clear, cut and dry. The only thing that I saw multiple times in multiple games, and even I struggled with, was when you receive adjacent benefits on those tracks and on those streets. So is it when you put out an intersection? Is it when you put out your basic 2 dudes on the map? Is it like that? There was a little bit of that of like sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. But other than that, I feel like everything else was very clean and easy to figure out.
The tram action, or the trolley, whatever, I forget what they call it.
That one's a little bit confusing too, that's true.
The tram action requires a bit of re-explanation, I think, throughout the first time someone's playing it, where you can get 2 movements, except for bonus movement on your own streets, but not other people's streets, and then you take the action of the direction the tram's pointed. Like, it's a funny kind of extra thing thrown in there that I think makes sense for the setting and for the theme they're going for and all that. But it just feels like a weird little mini game in it that I like, but it has a little bit of fiddle.
I'm glad Chris
to it.
brought it up, because I hate the tram.
Really?
Actually, I don't like the game. Here's the thing.
Okay.
Now this is partially my fault, because I played this back to back with Ark Nova,
Oh, okay.
Okay.
and I love Ark Nova, but it really brought into I was like, what is it? Because there's a lot of things that when I went through the rules, well, the first half of the rules, I was like, man, I love this idea. Put this here, take the things, do all this, that. There's a couple problems. I think the theme is interesting and strong until it isn't. There's a lot of problems where they'll be like, take a Vecna tile, not Vecna, but take this tile, take this tile. And I'm like, wait, which one is that? That's these tiles. This is this tile over here. What does this symbol mean? Our rule book in this game is so beat up, and I know why, because I flipped through it like 80 times.
It's true.
Trying to remember what all the different things do. So that's kind of coming in there. But the theme is, oh, you have this tram, and he's driving around, but he can drive on your streets for free because I don't know why. And also he drops off a passenger who then will sit there forever. They're not a passenger, they're a pile of bricks. No, I'm serious. Like that part of the theme didn't work for me.
My bit of the theme is that as you're building a tram, you start off with like your hub tram space and you're building connections for the tram. You're building the track.
But they're called passengers.
The passengers are the stops for passengers.
Also, those things that you put out don't have anything to do with the tram if you don't want them to. They're there for points and stuff.
Right.
And you're also throwing them out there. Oh, there's a 3-point spot on the board. I'll put them there. The buildings, though, for me, is the biggest problem I have with the game. I found that to be an unfun part. Like, we're sitting there going, okay, what building can... I put these here. I can put out this building. No, wait, it's actually the next level building. Okay, I put that building out. First person that gets 5 points for no reason. Because everyone's going to be building buildings as fast as they can. Why would you not? Yeah, I get the lowest number there. That doesn't mean anything. And it doesn't mean anything because you get the lowest number. So does everyone else who builds a building. As the game goes by, you build more and more buildings. Everyone gets a bigger number. It just points. And so this game just is like, have some points, have some points. I'm like, am I doing well? I have no idea. This is 8 times 6. Oh, I just got 24 points. And I guess I'll retract. I don't dislike the game. I just think it's okay. Because that stuff, to me, I didn't find it to be fun. I thought it would be more fun. I thought, ooh, take the tiles off, build the tiles here. Oh, those actions are the same actions as over here, so I'm just doing the same action more than once. I didn't like the tram action, and since that's the third action on the diagonal, that's a problem. The intersections weren't as cool as I thought, but the buildings were boring. You just kind of looked to see what building got built. You then followed like an 8-step process to build a building. Building a building is like the most complicated part of the game, and it shouldn't be, because it's an automatic thing you have to do. And all these points at the end of the game, like, I guess I played poorly or well, I don't know what I could do better next time. I don't know strategies. I was just placing stuff and doing stuff. And so I get why people would like it. I'm just not thrilled by that. I thought I would like it more, but...
So what's your score?
Well, you don't want to rebut any of this before we get into like score and thoughts, final thoughts.
Oh, I've got lots of thoughts.
Well,
so.
no. And again, I want to be clear, too, that I think this is just a me thing. Like, I don't think Barcelona is a bad game, actually. I want to be really clear on that. I'm giving it a 6 for that reason. So that's not bad. I think the game's fine. If you said play it, I'd be like, okay, fine, we'll play it. But I don't... Again, I played Ark Nova. Ark Nova, I'm like, I'm building a zoo. I'm taking this action. I built this. I put this here. I got points. This is a bear, and it is many more points than this fox is, and that makes so much sense thematically to me. Here, it was like, I have upper class and middle class and lower class. Upper class is better, I think, except that this guy gets mad when I do the upper class building, so I move down the track, but I move up on this building track, so I'll just rebut that by taking that 10-point building that goes there, and did I do a good job?
All those moments.
I don't know. I'm getting all these hits of points, but they all felt fairly random. And I know the argument could be meant, get good. Okay, I get that. I just didn't feel like I want to get good. If that makes sense.
I don't feel like any of your complaints are complaints that I have.
Well, that's fine.
So,
I'm
yeah.
not saying that. I'm not saying you're definitive about the game. I'm just saying that for me, that kept me from loving the game. I thought by putting this stuff out in the intersections, that was cool. But I mean, I had to reread the thing. They're like, put the guys out. You have two people from the thing. Put them out any order you want. I was like, ooh, what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything until you build the building. The rest of that doesn't mean anything.
It does. You're setting it out. You're preparing future spots for other people to take.
You have a little bit of control over the timing of the end of each era as well because of that,
There's
right?
so many little things that you can choose to do and
but
have
that's so
control
much
over.
work for so much. I have no idea. This is not for me. You guys can talk praise about it, and I'm not even going to really rebut all that. I might, but I probably won't because But I think this is definitely a me thing. But I think there's other people out there who are like me. It's weird because I thought the theme was really strong in this game until it wasn't.
So for me, I just very much enjoyed this. I thought that it was absolutely wonderful. Like I said, everything is laid out really nice. So like all of those Euro-y actions of, ooh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. It's all clearly laid out on my board. It's clearly laid out, like teaching the game, the action spaces, you just go through and teach them. So that teaching was really great. I thought playing was really great. And then I feel like there's so many dopamine hits because we're constantly getting points. And I never felt like, am I doing okay? Am I not doing okay? I didn't struggle with that the way that you struggled with it. Because if I was behind 20 points, that's fine because I can take an action. I can get a ton of points.
That's what I mean.
And so I loved that. that I'd be like, ooh, I look like I'm losing. But you just wait. I'm setting up for something. I've got this ready. I've got this. It's just, it's so much fun. I loved it.
Well, defensive building points to me, I don't get that. You build a building your turn, you take the lows of the three numbers, and then Chris goes, and he's probably get a slightly higher number. And then you go, and you get a slightly higher number than that. That's not interesting. It just means at this point in the game, you get slightly more points for building buildings. I don't get that at all.
Because it's part of that controlling. As you lay out those two people, you're choosing, am I going to put the greens on top? Are we rushing the green track? Or are we trying to kind of middle everything out so that all the tracks move together slowly?
But I'm saying if you get the points for a building, so do your opponents. It's not like you get the lowest of where you put stuff. So if I make buildings more valuable for me, I make them more valuable for everybody. I don't get the points for the buildings. Everyone's getting them.
But not everybody builds a building. Sometimes you want actions because you want the actions that are more important that will get you more points in those building points. And so you have to make those decisions. There are some tough decisions where you're like, I'm not building this round because I really want these other actions and I know that's going to score Serta soon. And so there's so many good decisions. So many good decisions.
I'm glad you like that.
I liked it a lot.
Tell me more why I'm wrong.
I think that it plays a lot with the timing, right? Triggering those three era scorings can be huge. If you can be the one to trigger it on your turn, that means that you functionally got one more action at it, as opposed to letting someone else do it. So the upper, lower, middle class, the color of the citizens out there really plays into where am I going to take my action, which two am I going to try and take most advantage of, and can I either close down the lowest number, right, so I get more building points, or do I focus on triggering the end of that era so that I have the most optimal score that I could have for it and everybody else doesn't?
And when you draw two of the same color?
Well, I mean, that's still information you have to work with.
When you draw the same cards in Arc Nova and you're like, I still can't get primates, even though there's so many primates in the deck,
pivot.
it just happens.
I can pivot. No, we're not comparing these two games. That's not this thing. I'm
You already did.
No, I'm just saying that it brought into focus why it helped me kind of solidify what it was about Barcelona I didn't like. I'm not trying to compare the two games because they're very different games.
There's no similarity, really.
Yeah, that's a tiny bit of luck. But for this game, there's not a lot of luck in it.
I'm not complaining about the luck. I'm complaining about most of my things come from other players. It's not necessarily the luck. It's that you put something here. Okay, well, I wasn't expecting that. Now I'm thinking, I don't know. I just struggle with this game. It was murky to see the end.
Okay.
What else do you like about it, Chris?
Oh, man. Almost everything about this game is satisfying to me. Like I said, there's a few hiccups in explaining the tram and re-explaining the tram, and then a few rounds later re-explaining the tram. But like outside of that, I find that there's two resources that you're making room for. You can pretty easily make room to be able to store a lot of it. That's also going to unlock points and such. Or you can kind of try to have like a low storage strategy where you're trying to maximize lots of opportunities to build roads. or to get those endgame scoring tiles. The fact that you can put endgame scoring tiles in areas and then upgrade their endgame scoring to like a 4-time multiplier is huge. So I've been 60 points behind at the end of a game and then just unleashed a furious, finishing combo move of like tons of multiplier endgame points that
4
I found
times 6 times 12. Yeah.
Right, I found that very worthwhile because I was foregoing something else for the pursuit of these things, and I found that really worth it. One game I didn't build a single road on the board. That's a lot of points that you're giving up in one direction, and you're just kind of focusing on different directions, in part because I'm reacting to how the citizens are coming out on those 3 tracks. Is it more advantageous to build buildings consistently? Are there turns that are worth skipping buildings if no one is if no one's really pushing up for example, like the lower class track? Every building is worth like 6 points halfway through the game, and some games they're worth 14 points by that point. So because of the overall movement of the group, sometimes you'll change the way that you play. I'm going to go focus on better intersection actions and forego building something this turn. Or there's other games where you say, well, I better pick the best action that lets me build this turn. And I find that to be great because it's kind of player-driven change-ups to the game. The variable setup of the game, that's good. Basically, you're saying which is going to be the diagonal third action. But it's very
right.
player-driven.
I keep forgetting you can do that.
I like that you can do that because I think that there's so many actions that I'm like, ooh, I would love to do these 2 actions on this turn, but they're on the same row or column as the other one.
That's a positive thing for me. I forgot.
You do like the variable setup?
No, I keep forgetting because every time they make one of these T games, and this is a T game, mark my words, it's Barcelona. But every time they make one, I'm always like, who's going to play the game enough? Who cares? Like I don't know that I've ever used the variable setup in Teotihuacan because I'm happy with the order things are in.
Okay.
This one I could see using it more. I forgot completely. As soon as I saw it, I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that.
And it's
I could see
printed
that would make it a little
on
bit
the
better.
board. It's
Yeah.
printed on the board.
Putting it on boards makes me so happy. I don't need to cover it up.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Right.
I love the end game scoring tiles that come out. I think that is so fun because once you see them, you want to get them because you're like, ooh, I want to invest in that this game. And they really point you in a direction. But then also, if you miss getting them, you may never see that one again. And so you're like, oh, now I have to pivot. Now I have to make different choices.
Wait, I don't understand. You may never see that one again.
The end game scoring tiles, because they flip out, they disappear every time that you go through the different rounds.
Yeah.
No, I understand that, but you said you may. I'm assuming you won't ever see it again.
Well, sometimes you have to reshuffle.
Oh, I see, I see, I see.
So you most
Okay.
likely won't ever see them again. But yeah, I really enjoy those. Like Chris had said, the 4 times, like upgrading that, but everything costs resources to place them down. I love the way that can just
What's your
multiply
rating?
and increase. I'm giving this a 9.
Okay.
This is one of my favorites that Board and Dice has brought out in a long time. So I just think that it's absolutely great.
Man, yeah, I'm also at a 9. I mean, I was debating between 8.5 and 9, but the one thing that I think clutches this one for just being a very high score. I think one time, Tom, you said in a review, the difference between an 8.5 and a 9 is not insignificant.
For me, it's pretty significant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So for me, it's pretty significant to say, too, that this game consistently feels like it's moving at a good pace. Even though building can be broken out into 8 steps, right? For me, for some reason, it feels very intuitive. I like the flow of it. In some ways, this reminds me of like a more complex game that feels condensed down. You place out your 2 citizens, do the actions, can you build, end of your turn. And I know that that's a very reductionist look at it, but even though there are micro steps to what it takes to build something out there into the spot in the middle, I find that it all flows really well, and that teaching this to lots of people, they say, like, man, I really like this. It keeps, it doesn't trip over itself. I think that comes, of course, with having the rules a little more familiarized, so you're not flipping through it, but as long as one person at the table knows it pretty well and can answer some of those types of questions, the game doesn't take long at all. I feel like it's some of the most rewarding for length of play.
And I've played
That I
this.
agree on.
I've played this at 2. I've played it at 4. And I was fine with both player counts. Obviously, like this length of game, I would much rather play at 2, but I still feel like it worked at 4 just fine. I was worried it would be too busy on the board, that everything would be too tight, and I don't feel like it was. It just made the game longer. But even with that, in the 2-player and the 3-player setup, those tracks at the bottom have little extra workers put out, so it shortens the game.
It's about the same, right?
So it's supposed to be similar, but it definitely is snappier. It's just snappier with 2 players, especially if you both know it. But this is one of those games that has so many different things that you can lean in, and for me, that is one of my like absolute favorite mechanisms, is being able to look at a game and being like, hey, this is the setup, this is what's going on, and I want to dabble over here. I want to build roads, I want to build intersections, and maybe next game I'll be like, hey, I want to build all buildings. I will always build a building every round no matter what. And I'm going to do the trolley tram thing. Like I love that I can explore. Like there's so much for me to explore for such a long time with this.
Well, there you go, folks. That's Barcelona. I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Wendy Yee.
I'm Chris Yee.
Have fun building in Barcelona.